Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth United Kingdom. Joining me this evening is Zoe Scribner, otherwise known as Be Here and Love. How are you doing, Zoe? Struggling with the mute button. You're on mute at the moment, Zoe. We'll try a take two. So, how are you doing, Zoe? Excuse our slight technical difficulties. You're actually muted in the Hangout at the moment, Zoe. This is where I usually sing The Girl from Ipanema. while Zoe clicks on a mute so we can get our introductions underway. I think we might end this broadcast and start a new one because we're having such extreme technical difficulties. Just try and click that mute button, Zoe. We'll give it one last try in the actual Hangout. There we go. Happy days. We'll do a take two. We'll edit this bit out, right? So watch this, watch this. No, you've ruined it already. So, watch. I would say pop myself on mute. Right, we'll try it because I might flag it if you can just keep from corpsing. Here we go, we'll try it. Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth United Kingdom. Joining me this evening is Zoe Scribner, otherwise known as Be Here and Love. How are you doing, Zoe?
Awesome. I'm doing great. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. Couldn't be more pleased to hear from you. You have no idea. And if that first bit gets edited out, the reason we're so pleased will just be beyond everybody. If it doesn't, hopefully you're all in on the gag. But yeah, so there we go. Whew, threw us both slightly for a minute. What happened? Did you just have the Hangout on a back page or something?
Yeah, I couldn't get it out again. I mean, I don't know even how it disappeared, but I just couldn't find it anywhere. So, but yeah,
the
all
joys
good
of
now.
YouTube Hangouts. How you cope is a testament to your professionalism, and I could see you clicking around frantically. I even meanly put the camera on you at some point while you were panicking, but there we go.
Well, I haven't done any Hangouts yet, so I mean, me personally. So
I thought you'd done some with Patricia. Were they all like with other people then?
Yeah, but I don't know what I did this time. I just made it disappear. But yeah,
I mean, it's one of the subjects we'll probably cover tonight is sort of behind the scenes Hangouts, because although this will be a semi-formal one-to-one interview, to us we're always having Skype conversations. You know, it's one of those things. I'm not saying every night, but you know, many nights we will have Skype conversations and discuss, you know, this day in flat Earth, if you want to call it that, the actual flat Earth proofs and the disproving of the globe, good videos that have come out that day. And don't get us wrong, sometimes we will discuss the salacious gossip that's going on at that particular time. I mean, the topic literally earlier today when we were chatting on Skype was sort of kind of male and female equality, and it was off the back of Flat Earth time. Was it last night that I was on Dell's Hangout? I think it was. Off the back of that, we were kind of dissecting up how it would come across if a woman was to do exactly the same thing as I did and got, you know, quite bullshit and aggressive. Would it come across well? And I said, societally, probably no. And you and my wife immediately disagreed and jumped down my throat and had a very different take on it.
Oh, well, no, I was actually agreeing in the sense that how society has been built up around Christianity, that just like with children are to be seen and not heard, the same has gone for women. You know, obey your husband, be quiet, don't meddle with what the men are talking about. And even though that is slightly not there anymore, it's still very prevalent. That if a woman speaks out and says, hey, that's just wrong, and or gets all upset about something, she will very likely get the label of, oh, she's just hysterical. And that's kind of like being back in the 1900s, you know, yeah, 1800s.
Well, you currently have the third wave feminism movement, and the contrast to that, I don't know if you'd call it a direct contrast, is the MGTOW movement for the guys. And these,
I would say that, yeah, that is exactly
a direct contrast, a direct mirror, rather.
Direct mirror of it, yeah. I mean, of course, equality is you know, that's logical that there should be equality. You know, same pay for same job, same rights. But the third wave feminists, they take it, you know, over the cliff. You know, and it's just crazy talk. A lot of it. And the other day I was listening to a MGTOW video. And it just brought tears to my eyes, because it was the exact same thing with just opposite, you know, what do you call them? I mean, the way that this person was talking about single mothers, and that they were only out to get someone to adopt their children and pay for their children, and they, I mean, well, the amount of nastiness that was in this video. It was just, it was completely equivalent to a lot of nastiness you hear from third wave feminists.
Third wave feminism is a term that a lot of people will immediately identify, even if they don't necessarily understand what the third wave part, which is very simple to explain. Yeah. But MGTOW, a lot of the viewing audience may not know what MGTOW is. For the benefit of them, can you explain what MGTOW is?
Not very much, because not very well necessarily, but it's men who will they say, I'm not your provider, I'm not your sex toy. I can't remember the third thing. But yeah, it's just it's like saying all women are like this. It's the same thing when women say all men are like this. It's just not true. And because you meet somebody who's like that doesn't mean that all people are like that. And they just kind of go with it. They don't think. They're not thinking. They're just toting something that they might have a personal association with or experience, and then they'll just use that to justify their own shit instead of thinking for themselves.
It seems like the men who go their own way are bracing against the women bracing against oppression from the old days. I mean, we said it's a societal thing that has still got its echoes in the present. Although, you know, like I say, my wife immediately said, no, I think if a woman did the same thing and was to stand up for herself and really, you know, not maybe to the extremes that I did, but, you know, definitely to stand up for yourself is admired by other women to a massive extent.
Definitely by other women, but that's the point. That it will be admired by other women because they will themselves be, oh, I wish I was that brave. Because I think there are a lot of women, I mean, of course it'll be less and less as time goes by, but I mean, I still think that there's this generational thing that's going on for so long that it's kind of inbuilt, this fear of being shut up. Or that you don't have a right to say stuff because then you will be judged as hysterical or oh yeah, it's probably that time of the month, you know, shit like that. So if a woman gets really angry about something, well, that's not very ladylike, is it? You know, all these stigmas, they're still stuck in women, whether they think that, oh, I'm so, you know, self-sufficient, I'm such a independent person. And yes, but you still have the societal old stuff hanging on in your what do you call it, skirt line, pant line.
But do you think it should be adhered to? I mean, for you as a woman, should you be very conscious of the general societal echoes of that behaviour, or should you completely ignore it and worry that your average MGTOW or Birdman will just accuse you of being triggered when you're actually just having, you know, there's nothing wrong with having emotional responses to things.
No, I definitely think you shouldn't give us a flying turd.
A flying, you know what?
Yeah, no, of course not. Yeah, and that doesn't matter what sex you are. You shouldn't care what other people think in that sense. I mean, I'm not saying that you should be, I mean, not care, but yeah, you shouldn't take any notice of what other people's opinions are, because that's all they are, opinions, and we all have different opinions. But then you get into the social correctness, the, what do you call it?
Yeah, political correctness. I mean, that's what I edged on while this subject was coming on. I was like, well, is it politically correct to say that, you know, a woman might be frowned upon by certain groups of men if she were to just stand up for herself, regardless of whether or not it's right or wrong to stand up for yourself? It would just be considered bad for whatever reason.
Yeah, but the political correctness has also gone over the cliff. I mean, in the sense of being insane. That you cannot judge. Oh, mustn't judge. But that's exactly how we get through life. We assess a situation and we judge it. Doesn't mean that we're not going to heaven, or we're not gonna, oh, bad karma, you just judged someone, you know. So not being able to think for yourself because you've been guided to, no, you can't say that, that's not politically correct. If somebody's transgender or somebody is you can't have an opinion about that. I mean, it's still opinions, but people are being directed not to have their own opinion, not to think for themselves. Opinions aren't necessarily thinking for yourself, but let's just keep it at thinking. We're actually taught not to think, you know. We're just taught to follow what other people think or have been told to think. So
you hit on an interesting one when you talk about the transgender. I don't know if it's you or Patricia that I have conversations with about Birdman. Do you watch Birdman? Is it you? Maybe,
yeah,
maybe
you
not.
showed me Birdman. Yeah, you showed me a couple of videos from Birdman, but refresh my memory.
Well, when he talks about the transgender agenda, he's quite direct in his feelings on the matter, which is there is no sliding scale. You're one or the other. You know, it's quite blunt opinion, but it flies in the face of what society or political correctness is telling him to believe. And I really like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy's making Call of Duty videos, so it's, you know, it's not exactly the best example, but by the same token, he's got a very no-nonsense attitude towards things like feminists and the transgender agenda. He's just a gamer, you know, and you know, I'm not going to, this sounds really bad to him, but I just see him as normal guy, average Joe, in terms of his feelings. And it's quite nice to see somebody like that just saying, no, I'm not going to accept you telling me that I identify as anything. You are a guy or you are a girl. You know, this is a categoric fact.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, there's exceptions. Don't need all the comments, please, God.
Yeah. Because what people forget is, or they don't think about, well, why is it being pushed so hard in the media that everybody should be able to make their own minds up about what gender they have? Well, that's just ridiculous bullshit, because you are born a girl, you are born a boy. You might actually have some ovaries hidden in your body if you're born a boy, and you might have some ovaries in you because while you were in your mother's stomach, something went wrong. Maybe your mother was drinking a lot of stuff from plastic bottles or using shampoo with SLR in it, sodium lauryl sulfate. All these hormonal endocrine disruptors that are in everything. But the media doesn't say anything about, oh shit, why are there suddenly so many little children that want to be the opposite sex of what they're born? And the parents are just, oh, well, honey, of course, if you want to be a boy, that's fine. But nobody's thinking about endocrine disruptors disrupting the hormonal system, which starts already in the mother's stomach. But that's not being highlighted.
No, quite the reverse. It's being played as though it's a huge percentage of the population.
Pushed very hard because it has to do with the New World Order thingy, that split up the family unit, demoralize the society and make demoralization normal so you can control people. That's working pretty well.
Those are the facts and statistics that never get highlighted. The statistics about the people who change back, the suicide rates.
Exactly. Yes, I watched a lot of those videos of people who were transitioning back to what they were, stopping taking hormones and letting their hair grow, or opposite. I mean, because it's like a fad. It's like, oh wow, this is the new trend. Let's all be the opposite sex of what we were born. Of course there are people who will naturally. Well, I mean, I don't know if just because you're transgender that you like the opposite sex of what you, I know, it gets confusing, that you're not necessarily gay, but still, I mean.
Well, it seems to me it tends to be about identification. So if I were of that ilk, how I choose to identify myself as, that's it.
Yes, I identify as and that's also because people go way too much up in, or they concentrate way too much on what they identify with. Or because they identify so strongly with some particular thing, that's also not thinking. Because just because you have an opinion about something doesn't, it's like with the moon landings, I identify with, we went to the moon and I'm a proud American and, don't take my identity away from me. It's the same thing,
messing with someone's patriotism with the moon landings and messing with their gender identity if you use the wrong pronoun.
Yeah.
But, while we're discussing the fact that there's, a higher rate of suicide people in transgender, in the transgender community, we're more than happy to highlight that. Whereas for me here in the UK, I listen to Radio 1, and what Radio 1 will do while I'm driving around making deliveries is play out half-hour documentaries about older transitioned, if that's the right word, teenagers talking to and advising younger, at the start of their journey, teenagers about gender identity. It's insane to consider that. That's what the mainstream Radio 1 massive radio station is pushing, to the teeny boppers, which I'm not, but I like modern new music, which is it's a new music station. So that's what we're getting punted. The plus sides at every opportunity. Yeah. And I know John LeBon is addressing some of the things, the plebiscite over in Australia in this regard, and trying to highlight the fact that they're having exactly the same thing done over there. It beggars belief. I didn't think we'd touch on this subject, to be honest, but it is an amazing a subject, because it's the demoralization of humanity, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's when the political correctness comes in. What do you mean demoralize? What do you mean amoral? Because you're not supposed to think anything or have any opinion about what sex a person has or what they prefer to be. And yes, that's true. I mean, like my personal, I couldn't care less what sexual orientation people have. They can do whatever they want, you know. It's the pushing of the agenda that makes it so obvious that it's an agenda and not a natural evolution.
Absolutely not. You know, one man's genital mutilation is another man's medical miracle, which is crazy when they're both the same thing. You know, in recent flat Earth history, I can remember, not flat Earth related, but some of the Jewish ceremonies during circumcision and the sexual transmitted diseases getting into the news, and that being a massive deal for the obvious reasons. And yet you'll watch the Discovery Channel. This is how we remove a man's testicles and sew his anus back onto the end of his foreskin so he can turn it inside out. And that's considered a good quality documentary. You know, that's being played to anybody who wants to watch it, normalizing that procedure. Like, that's a normal thing to do. I've got strong views on it. Like I say, I didn't expect to be touching on them in this show, but I don't think that's normal. You know, man with scalpel, I'm afraid not.
Man with scalpel. No, it should be one of the more rare occurrences. Well, okay, if you can't have it any other way, but making it normal. I mean, so any odd person, oh yeah, you want to be a girl? Fine. You know, we don't have to think too much about that. That's very disturbing. Yes, it is.
For sure. I mean, when I originally asked you to do an interview, it was slightly hinged on your progression through your New Age beliefs. And I did a show. We didn't have you on that particular show, but I was hoping you would be there as kind of the skeptic, because you've kind of gone in one side and out the other. So maybe you can start us off by telling us about a bit of your journey through your New Age beliefs.
Well, there are a lot of things that I still adhere to, because, well, the excuse when people say, oh, it's not New Age, it's old age. Yes, a lot of the things are ancient, and but it's the mannerisms that are drawn in, and everything's mixed up into one mess, and it's much more about identity again. What do you identify with, and who am I? Oh, well, I'm a very spiritual person, you know, and it's like the same mannerisms. I hope there's no gay people out there, or if there are, but anyway, in the sense that you will see a lot of gay men having this mannerisms, that they talk in a certain way, you know, they have this, oh yes, you know, and they think that that's feminine to talk like that, you know. And the same thing goes with people in the spiritual community. They're also very soft-spoken and namaste, and always they're totally blissed out all the time. Oh yes, I just went on a goddess retreat and a twin flame workshop, and I'm going to Bali next week, and it's just so fake. And that's what got me to thinking that this is just something new to identify with, instead of that you would, and of course there's very great pride in saying, I'm not religious. No. Nothing to do with religion there. Completely.
But this was the most fascinating bit for me, because it absolutely is religious, and there's so many parallels between Christianity and New Age belief. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, because instead of you're going to hell, oh, it's bad karma. You know, it's just, which also is a man-made concept. And this is the thing. A lot of New Agers will be pounding on the Bible and God and the devil, but they're completely disregarding that. Well, you're actually going after pretty much the same system. that you might not go to hell, but you certainly won't come back. You certainly have to pay for it later. Same thing. You won't be going to nirvana soon. You're going to have to go through thousands of lives before you can have peace. And, it's just, I don't know. I'm not disregarding at all that we are electromagnetic beings, but it's the religiosity of it that I have thrown out. I just couldn't stand it because it was very fake to me.
But there was a few other things, like you explained how non-believers would be ostracized.
It's the same thing when you say, oh, she's just on another level. It's not as if we're better than them, but she's just, and that's just so arrogant and so.
It's on a different part of their journey.
Delusional. Also, because I can't understand why I'm feeling like this today. Because they have this expectation that it should be blissed out all the time. I need another fix. And that is literally what it is when you go on all the workshops and all the retreats, and it's just a fix. Because if you don't, it's like going to yoga once a week or taking qigong lessons once a week. If you only do it that one day, well, fine, go to the gym or something. But doing yoga doesn't necessarily mean that you're more spiritual. It's like it's very specific. You have energy centers and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't make you something you'll hear a lot is the thing that, because now that we've pushed God and the devil out, then I am God, I am a goddess, and it's so I lack the words sometimes, but
self-centered, narcissistic,
self-centered and delusional, and I'm not just pointing at other people. I said this myself. It was 10 years ago when I was going to the energy healing school for 2 years, and there was one day where I got this realization: I am God. Wow. Yes, you are God, somebody in the chat says. And why do we think we are God? Because if God created all this and created us, then we are a piece of God. We're made in his image, but that's taking the Bible again. So if we're to think for ourselves and not just repeat something that was in a book or in thousands of years of teaching, yes, there are lots of very interesting right stuff in all these writings, but we still don't need to have some person who wrote the book tell us what to do, what is right and what is wrong. Everybody knows, no matter what, that you don't kill someone. That's a bad thing to do. You don't hit your mother. That's a bad thing to do. You don't hit your children. That's a bad thing to do. A lot of things, but it also has to do with the morals of the society, and morals change. Just like the skirt lines changed, In the Victorian ages, you couldn't show your ankles, That was very naughty. So morals change. What's okay today was not okay 100 years ago.
Isn't the journey of discovery part of New Age belief in terms of self-exploration?
Yes. And a lot of pathways are very beneficial to the evolvement. I'm missing words here, but yeah, to evolve your brain, your way of thinking, your way of experiencing the world.
We're kind of making this sound very positive, so maybe if I ask you a slightly different question, why'd you leave? What made you go no?
Well, I left because of the fakeness. I felt as if I saw through it, and I was just, constantly shaking my head, and I said, I can't be a part of this. I can't just sit there and, well, we would sit in circles and tell each of our stories, and some would be very long, and some would be very, and then they would always end with, yeah. And it's just so, why are you acting like this? Come on, snap out of this weird delusional way of being. Why are you being like this? Why aren't you just relaxing and being yourself? Why do you think that being spiritual, then you have to act a certain way? And the worshiping of other people.
I know this from you, but they're waiting for something. I mean, I'm not going to draw the parallels to waiting for Jesus, but I'm hoping you'll do it for me.
Waiting for enlightenment, ascension. Eh? That's where the thing, yeah, you just exchange heaven with ascension. You have to heighten your vibration because we're going to ascend to the 5th dimension. That's good. Just keep on waiting.
Sure thing.
You're going to be waiting a long time. And also having this delusion that, I mean, it's all about escaping this earthly experience. What is so wrong about being on Earth? Yes, it sucks sometimes. It's very hard. We are physical beings, and it can hurt both physically and emotionally. But the whole point of us being earthly beings is because that's where we are right now. Accept it. And make the best of it. Don't try to escape all the time in delusional beliefs that have nothing to do with reality. And people, oh, well, this and that and this and that. And you're just repeating something that you've been hearing and hearing and hearing or reading. You haven't thought about it. Oh, yes, it resonates with me. It's totally, yeah. And everything becomes this vague fluff that if you stop and think about, why do I think like this? And people rarely do, because it's like a lifeboat, you know. I can do this and that to avoid feeling and experiencing what earthly existence is. You make it just this ongoing escape from planet Earth.
I mean, as you said, though, there's a lot of positives to it when you talk about being on a journey of discovery, of finding self-awareness. But when you reach the point when you draw that parallel to the ascension and, you know, the namby-pamby stuff that goes along with it, you do have to kind of step back and go, well, it's all well and good giving us this great advice to find self-discovery, but we're waiting for the metaphorical equivalent of Jesus here.
Yeah. But you don't have to go into the New Age community to find yourself. I mean, just like I've always said with people, oh, I have to go to India to find myself. Why? You can find yourself, if that's such a thing, in your own backyard. You know, because wherever you go, there you are.
I like that. The negative version has a lot more impact. So whenever somebody's got like a disastrous relationship or something, and they go, I'm going to move, I'm going to get away from it all, and then some wise ass says, your troubles will always follow you. And it's the same in reverse. You know, if you're looking to find out what you are like, you know, stay still. I'm sure there's plenty of Buddhists out there who would agree.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, it's not that I disagree with a lot of the teachings in all sorts of religions, but just as long as we are aware that it is religion and that you do have to use your own brain, you can't just get a free pass and, oh, all my earthly troubles are gone. I just need to go on this twin flame workshop. I'll be fine. No, it's just.
Where do you stand on karma? Because what goes around comes around. I do think there's a lot of truth in that. Yeah,
but I also think that it gets misused, just in the same way that Christians misuse heaven and hell. Yes, but it's still used as a threat. It's not so often used in a positive way. It's mostly used, oh, you're gonna get it, you know. It's you better be good, because he knows when you've been bad or good. So be good, for goodness sake.
Very topical.
Yeah, not because you know that it's right to do right, but because you're gonna get it. You know, you're gonna have.
Now because you said specifically.
We all have the ability to respond. Responsibility. And no matter if there is a creator or not, we as human beings have responsibility. So
yeah, sure. I was going to say, just while we tail off this subject, something you said maybe don't mention, but we've got Alice Bailey. Maybe you can drop in just some bits for people to look up that might be relevant. Then we'll go on to a different subject.
Yeah, I used to know a lot about Alice Bailey and Madame Blavatsky and the Theosophical Society, but like with a lot of other stuff, it's kind of semi-erased. But well, she started Alice Bailey. She started the Lucis Trust. It's the United Nations. It's a publishing company. It used to be called, in the beginning, it was called Lucifer Trust, and yeah, and that's called Lucis Trust today, and it's still a branch of the United Nations.
Yeah, just useful to people who just think, I could do something to go away and have a little bit of research on.
Go Google Alice Bailey, because there she talks about, and Madame Blavatsky, they talk about one world government and Luciferianism, and then a lot of people will say, oh, well, I read Alice Bailey, I read Madame Blavatsky, and they sound fine to me. They're just, spiritual adventurers, they're just teaching others to, but yeah, they mention worldwide government, worldwide religion, which you will also find in, what's it called? B'nai B'rith. That's also a mix-up of all sorts of religions, and which would love to be the world religion, So, yeah, B'nai B'rith. You can look that up as well. It's very interesting.
Cool. We'll move on to a slightly different subject, which is hopefully going to cheer up a lot of the audience members who are going, talk about flat Earth, which is, we'll start off with a question I normally start right at the beginning, which is, how did you actually find out Earth is flat?
Well, one day I was sitting indoors on a sunny day again, and I clicked the video. Yeah, that's how I found out. Yeah, I was just like everyone else. Flat Earth, what are they? Really? Seriously? And finally, because when you do research about everything else, I was thinking to myself, okay, I can't just reject that, because that would be ignorant of me. I would be ignoring something that was right in my face, and I would, I took a piece of humble pie, like we all have, and said, okay, I will look at it. I'm not going to be arrogant and pretend I know everything. So even though that is one of my no.
So
yeah,
YouTube video, pretty much the same story as a lot of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that would be the answer, because I wanted to lead it onto the subject of YouTube consumption in general. How we both take on our information from YouTube, especially when it comes to the chat. I know one of the things while we were talking about New Age belief was, do they all sit around and smoke a lot of weed? I mean, it's a question that's worth addressing before we go on and discuss the chat itself. But New Age belief, are they all just a load of stoners? Is that the general perception?
Not where I came from, but that was also, well, it was mixed up, At first it was the healer school, and then it was something called the City Heart Temple. A lot of people would meet there a couple times a week, and one day was specifically made for dancing, and which was very nice. You don't have to go out and drink and get drunk to go dancing. You could just go to City Heart Temple and dance with all the other people. But it was not my, no, people were not stoners. They would drink wine sometimes, but mostly they're not really into any kind of anything that will alter their you know, what do you
Their
call
vibration?
it? State of mind, or I mean, well, you don't need it. You don't feel the need to drink or smoke or. Well, I mean, like I smoke pot, and when I didn't smoke pot for 3 years because it just didn't mesh very well with healing. It doesn't. But there's a different kind of people. You know, there are a lot of people who smoke as well, but not where I was. People I was hanging. I was first later that I started hanging out with people who smoked a lot. And they would just, you know, sit and sing bhajans, you know, in Indian songs and chants, and smoke the weed and smoke the hash, and you just have a great party. But it's just mixing it up with chants. I don't know. That's just my personal. I mean, it's very cozy. You know, we have bonfires. I wish I could have the same thing without all this.
Without all the kumbaya.
Yeah. And nothing wrong with singing songs together. It's very cozy, but it's a put on. It was the fakeness of it, this identification that put me off. That's why I have a lot of friends here, and we have a great time. We have parties and great music, great drumming. I love to drum with my friends, but I just couldn't. I couldn't stand it anymore. So, yeah.
I mean, we both enjoy the chat. You know, we've got our chat feed rolling right now. I'm sure you're keeping an eye on it like I am. And a lot of people who consume Flat Earth information do enjoy the chat. And that'll be their main priority. I see it in a lot of the Skype feeds, you know, when's there going to be a live hangout? Because people enjoy that consumption. I mean, how do you get on with the chat?
Well, normally I love chat. A lot of time goes with saying hi everyone, hi, and then I might not participate so much. Sometimes I'll say stuff, but yeah, I like to watch people talking, and but it's not easy to always listen at the same. If you keep your eye on chat, you might miss a lot of the hangout. But I love it. I do love hangouts with chat. It's also a place where we all meet up, you know, and we feel this connection with each other, this of our community.
I mean, you say the words connection and the community almost in the same breath, which is fantastic. But Del, beyond the imaginary curve, had his hangout, the purpose for it. I'm glad he clarified this, because I was a bit on edge about his motivation for doing it. But when he explained, it might have even been in the follow-up video, that he was doing that hangout and exploiting the tools that we are also, that we all fall prey to, the drama that is created within the social dynamic of Flat Earth, is an interesting subject when you are at the point where you accept the globe as a lie, that we have been deceived and it's never going to be proved. You know, I'm sure you will agree when you say you will never be on a spinning globe ever again. It's beyond comprehension that would ever happen. Therefore, the social dynamic aspects of Flat Earth become fascinating at that stage. And, you know, Del was quick to point out that he is simply utilizing a tool that we fall prey to day in, day out to achieve his own ends, which he achieved admirably. But it was one where he actually did get a use out of the chat. He had potential for guests who were being confronted, in this case me, to actually see it and, you know, contact him there and then and join. Up until that point, I would really put hand on heart and say the chat was pointless. You know, it served no useful, it has no real use. I don't know if you'd feel the same way, because you've just said about community and, you know, maybe I don't agree.
Community in the sense that it's what we all have in common. There in the connection, because yes, we're connected by Flat Earth, but we're still people, you know, and a lot of people are still the way that they were when they believed in a globe. And they don't kind of, I mean, I don't like to use the expression, oh, well, they're not real flat earthers, because that's, again, you're identifying with a concept, you know, or an idea or a thought, and then you give yourself the right to judge others. You can judge others, but, you know, not to heighten yourself. That's the problem. That when you say that, oh, well, they're just on another level, or they're globalings, or they're, you know, there's all sorts of, but that's what, yeah, we have this in common, but we forget that we are still people. And a lot of people have this desire to, I don't know if they're bored or what it is. I really don't know why people make stuff up and toot it out as truth, you know, and say bullshit like, I'm only for the truth. Why are you making shit up if you're such a truther? You know, it's very disturbing sometimes.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people will do that. I mean, some people just do it for the pure delight of doing it. And in my opinion, it's down to the people who absorb the information. Worse still, when they regurgitate it. But you can only be deceived. You know, to take stuff at face value is to ignore the actions of the individual. I could rattle off 101 different examples of this. It's people actually just listening to the words people say, and when their actions conflict with what they say, they will then ask them for a further explanation, more words to justify their actions, rather than just paying attention to what people actually do. That frustrates me, I won't admit. Some people will dice that down, like you say, oh, well, this person's just on a different level. I kind of go, well, no, you know, have good discernment, God damn you.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just making me laugh about, could you please clarify that? It's just like when laying tarot cards. If you don't get an answer that you, could you please clarify that? You can lay out cards until you get what you want. And it's just, yeah, it's the same shit.
That's it. Whenever there's a deceit afoot, so with the globe lie, we're past this really. We've done it, I'm sure, for a year or more. You have to get past the part where you're explaining people's models to them in the first instance. And in the second instance, getting them to understand what a deception is. You know, when there's a lie, you know, if you approach the person who has lied, they will spin out a further lie. The web just gets bigger, you know. Yeah. And then go back to the person and say, well, look, here's their explanation. It's like you don't understand how deceit works.
How deceit works, yeah. No.
So, yeah, there was a topic that, off the back of that, again, that hangout with Del, where I asked Sean a quite specific question, and you know, you had the same reaction to me as a former devotee to the New Age movement. When I said, "What?" I didn't say what was your name. I said, "Who are you?" And the answer was something along the lines of, "I'm on a journey of discovery." And I know I rolled my eyes. And yeah. What was your reaction?
Yeah, I was laughing at your reaction because that's exactly the vague. I mean, come on, we're not talking a deep philosophical question of who are you. We're just, you know, what's your name? And it was kind of, it's very typical New Agey way to answer. Very vague and very, yeah. But,
I mean, I was going to lead it on to your videos, and I kind of identified this just before we started the show, which is about your characters generally coming across like they have an assumption that they're going to receive abuse for being flat earthers.
Yeah, and I said I hadn't thought of it like that, so I'm going to have to go back and watch it. I don't know.
Well, they go stuff like, well, because I'm a flat earther, kind of hints at, well, I automatically assume X, Y, and Z because I'm a flat earther. I mean, we do, though. We assume, you know, you must have had a time when you want to correct somebody who says something that's not necessarily on topic, but they'll drop into a different conversation about globalism or being on a globe or the way we're spinning. And it's not necessarily to do with the actual topic in hand. And you want to address it and say, well, actually, we're not spinning, we're stationary. Or, well, I don't actually think we are on a globe, whatever. But you don't, because you're hesitant at the fact that you'll get called an idiot immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to overcome that. That would be a good thing to, exactly what I said before. Don't give a flying about what other people think. But we all, or most of us, I would assume, still have a lot of that hanging, that we don't, we do a lot of things in life because we want to be liked. And that's base motivation for most of what we do in life. And that's one of the things to become aware of. Oh, well, why am I saying this? Why am I doing this? Oh, why am I not saying what I really think? It's because I want to be liked. I don't want to be ridiculed. I don't want to, stand out, because we've all learned how to bunch up together and be alike. Just like in the movie The Giver, where they talk about sameness. It's a very good picture of our world, that even though we talk so much about individualism and everybody has the right to be different, but forgetting that most of the world wants to just be like be the same, so you don't fall out, and you don't, so that you can assure that you are liked, because I'm just like all the others. I mean, of course, an exaggeration. It's an exaggeration. I mean,
but it's very true. I mean, on Christmas Day, I wanted to see the strength in numbers and a bit of, camaraderie, or whatever you want to call it, within the Flat Earth community. And by chance, I'm a big car fan, and I watch a channel called Gas King. It's a very popular channel. It's been around about 12 months. And he released a video which was the top 10 supercars of 2017. And the video will get an absolute shed load of views. But I managed to catch it seconds after it was uploaded and drop in a comment, "The Earth is flat." And immediately contact everybody I know and go, please go and like this comment and just respond with a flat earth proof or whatever, to show a bit of strength in numbers. And before the end of the day, it had like 50 thumbs up and 50 comments. And it wasn't the usual, and I have done this in other videos, non-stop ridicule with people, bolstering their own belief. Now, what's interesting about that particular comment was the channel owner immediately put a little heart. You can give comments, certain types of emojis now if you're the channel owner, and he puts like a heart next to my Earth is flat comment. I was like, oh, awesome.
Wow.
But then immediately somebody wrote, you're an effing idiot, and he put a heart next to that. So it's like, right, so that the standard reaction to a comment, the Earth is flat, is you're an effing idiot, and he likes that because there's strength in numbers. I wanted to achieve the opposite and have everyone who comes with a crap heliocentric proof or a total lack of understanding of why the shadows are caused on the moon, you can demonstrate, as did Ben, Arwin, even Validation Boy, Patricia Steer, a whole bunch of flat earthers went into this thread and, demonstrated that we're not complete morons, which is the general assumption. Yeah. However, like I say, on any other video, you put the Earth is flat in, and the people who respond with "you're an effing idiot" are bolstered by the 90%, the avalanche of people who just, steamroll any sort of any spark that might generate in somebody to actually research it. But I'm hoping on the top 10 supercars of 2017, there might be at least one person who sees that thread and goes, holy wow, there's actually people who are not morons looking into this and giving decent proofs. Wonderful. Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to go through, Zoe, before we sign out and say a massive thank you to our audience? It's okay to say no.
Well, no, I was just thinking about Christmas. I mean, how that's changed for me over the years. I mean, it's still kind of, I can see more meaning with it if there are little kids around, when my daughters have children. But I remember when I was 18,
I was walking down in the town with my mother, and I was already a Scrooge then. I was, oh, look at them, look at them, look at them, all the people just buying stuff and the commercialism about it. And I was such a Scrooge when I was in my late teens and early 20s. But then I had children, and then okay.
This is another thing we were discussing before the show. You were saying about when you had your kids, you'd lay it all out with the fine china and the fine silverware, and there's a big to do. But of course, you've got all your kids and your partner at home, and you know it's very different to now when they're all grown up and moved out. And you know you do get the fine china out, but you kind of leave some of the turkey in its packet.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was actually my mother who always took the fine porcelain and the silverware out at Christmas. So when my mother died and I moved up here, then I had the silver and the fine porcelain. And the first Christmas, I realized that this is silly to just take this fine silverware out of the folding thing, you know, once a year. So I started using my silverware every day because, you know, then there's kind of a point of having it instead of showing off to whom anyway. You know, it's just not that you should show off, but yeah. So I'm enjoying my silverware every day. But
I don't think if I was still, not that I do, living with my parents, every single Christmas when they got the fine china out, they had a rather large serving bowl. And every single year I'd be informed that when I was a newborn baby, I was bathed in this bowl, and you'd kind of have a half mouthful of carrots and go, oh, right. And on that rather foul and disgusting note, we will say a massive thank you to Zoe Scribner, otherwise known as Be Here and Love YouTube channel. So check out her videos, for being on Flat Earth UK. So thank you very much, Zoe. It's been a pleasure having you.
Well, you're welcome. It was a pleasure being on.
And I'll also say a massive thank you to all of you who have joined us live in the chat. You've all been very well behaved. I've been Nathan Oakley. See you all soon. Bye. For now.